Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about survivor strategies. These are just kind of like the things that survivors should be keeping in their mind as they go around just trying to do gens, trying to heal, trying to do their objectives. The things we'll be covering are going to be using the HUD and the other types of warning mechanics like terror radius and stuff like that. Heartbeat reading. We're going to be covering team coordination, resource awareness, and management. We're going to be covering looping and perks to help beginners. So, as for HUD and warning mechanics, this is just going to be kind of like a very quick section because we'll be seeing more of these in actual proper like gameplay matches. I've put aside on the edges, we've got this on the left, it's going to be heartbeat reading, terror radius. This is Huntress that we're going at, so this is a fantastic example where that little red dot is her lullaby. Then as the dot beats into a heart, you know she's super close, and then she's chasing and blah blah blah. Now, on the right side, we're going to be having an example of a unique killer power that's going to pop onto HUD. It's going to be Ghostface Expose in the red ring, and you can normally see the timer counting down. I got taken a little bit off guard there, so you won't see the timer aspect of it, but you will see the mark, the exposed mark. And then on the right side is going to be a full match of HUD that has just been completely and totally sped up. So you'll see chases, hooks, injuries, gens, a lot of different things. We're playing against a clown here, so you're not going to get any like unique killer stuff that comes into the HUD play. But you will get to see all of that. And so the next thing we'll talk about is actually like team coordination, which is who should go for unhooks, who is going for an unhook, using the HUD to kind of determine that, the time it takes to travel, as well as the HUD element for seeing how long somebody has been on hook, the time it takes to unhook, when an unhook must go through, stuns, stealthing, pallets, splitting downs, all sorts of interesting things. And in our first video, we have an example of Sable here, who's just getting run, and then a survivor comes in to give a flashlight save. I've circled in red instances where you can see where she's hiding out. This is an in-game save. I'm already out. And this is an example of using the HUD to kind of understand. So we have a hook in in-game. We've got the heal's what we want. So we'll have to be careful how we approach this. Okay, we want to fork, we want to split pressure, so we want Yui to come in from a certain way, we want Kate to come in from a certain way. But Yui does not follow that. She ends up getting injured there. Taking the injured's bad. Kate is kind of watching to make sure Huntress doesn't come back around, but she does, and she throws a hatchet. So the lullaby is telling you she's not nearby until the heart comes in. Dramaturgy. Oops. I'm still checking it out. Now this unhook has to go through. Sable doesn't have a lot of time, so even if she takes an injury here, it has to go through, or you lose her. Kate likely dies here because the distance is, yep. So Sable has to get the Yui, and they both have to get out. There is no saving Kate once she's death hook. Not like that. Now this is also an example of an in-game save. This is when we essentially have NOED in play and some other things that end up happening. We get the healing done because that's a decent priority there with 2 down, but we also need to get NOED. NOED is the new priority. So we're looking for NOED, sped up a little bit until you see there's a little bit of a thing that changes, which is that we have somebody in chase. It's about to point that out to you. So there's the person in chase. I know I can get the unhook, so I do. So I'm keeping an eye on what's going on with Chase here, making sure I'm not going to get hit by Noed. It's Clown, by the way. And we grab the unhook, but we still want to go for the Noed totem here. Because Cheryl is in Chase, if she gets downed, we want to have the Noed gone, so that our other healthy person could potentially unhook if they get the chance. And then after we get the Noed, we can maybe go heal, maybe go in for a 2-prong pull on Cheryl when she gets downed, if she gets downed. So you'll see that kind of come into play as well. So everything's going kind of according to plan here, and this is kind of one of the things when we're talking about like coordination is who's going for saves, how are people approaching, who needs to be healed, when do they need to be healed, what is the distance, what is your time, how much time do you have. You want to be paying attention to all of these things. Also pretty important that the HUD can tell you a lot of these things. So this is just talking about our strategies in getting to this unhook and how we're coordinating as a team to try to ensure that we get a pull here. If I take the hit here, they should be able to take the unhook and get out. And we're once again paying attention to HUD to see if that happens. It does go through. And everybody gets out, just so that you know. Awareness of resources and management of them is also really important. You need to figure out where things have spawned, where people are doing gens. If there's a gen that somebody is chased off of, you want to take over that gen, safely of course. Who's in chase, where they're in chase, and you want to plan your escapes. And you might also need to be managing things like exhausted or exposed, depending on what's in play. So this is an example of noticing what resources are available and what killer items are around. This is an example of planning escape routes and understanding the risks of escapes and whether or not you're in an unsafe area. This is a xenomorph, so this is pretty unsafe. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity to get hit over a rock like that. And then we've got, mind games, walking in shift, throwing green pallets, distance for swings and lunges. Don't run towards areas that are active with hooks, chins, or downs. Plan your routes, and definitely pay attention to check spots. 360 if you don't think you can make something, or if you need to be unpredictable. So you take advantage of the tiles and what's around you. There's a little corner there, so that's why I ended up, boom, going right into that section. This is a check spot. So we're paying attention to where they're going. We're using our check spots to make sure we're not going to get, shown up. I expect her to lunge here. She doesn't. She doesn't lunge, which is fine. So I go ahead and do a little spin to see if I can bait it out. I'm paying attention to see if she maybe went off and on. I'm thinking maybe we could stun her. She does end up eventually coming back. You can see that with the heartbeat reading. She backs up, expecting that stun, so neither of us get that. Use objects to your advantage. There's 360 when I don't think I can make that otherwise, and when I need to be unpredictable. Now we've got a little bit of info for some killer players, I guess, or on survivors and how killers might think, which is that kicking pallets matters. It really matters which side you're kicking, when you kick, etc. So this huntress is probably committing to this pallet because she thinks she can get the hatchets over, which is a pretty good guess. I would normally say you probably don't want to be committing that long to a chase unless you're like 100% certain that you can die. So that's like one of those things there, you just gotta be careful. Using any kind of info to your advantage is good. This is one of the parts that we'll talk about maybe in the end game, and the end game, at the end of the video. because it's, this is planned escape, by the way. So there's a window up there, I've noted it. She raises hatchet, so that forces me down. So as I was saying, the red scratch marks is a specific perk that gives you an idea on how killers track. So as a survivor and as a new player, I would 100% recommend running this perk so that you understand how tracking works and why you might be getting pulled out of things like lockers. If you're running to a locker, that's an issue. So that was an example of camping for a stun and getting a stun. These are some of the perks that I mentioned. The perk I was talking about, Inner Focus, is the one that shows scratch marks and stuff. And it also shows the Aura of the Killer when somebody is injured. There are some other nice perks on here. People really like Windows. Bond is really, really good. I find Better Together is nice if you want people to know if you're on a gen or not and where it is. So if you don't want people to run to you with a killer, you could run Better Together. There are some other really nice things, but they're a little more advanced. So things like Inner Focus, Quick Gambit, you basically have to be able to get a lot of value out of Quick Gambit just from, well, just from being in chase without getting injured. So, exhaustion perks in general. So these are some brief ideas behind what goes into playing as Survivor and how you're playing. If you want any more information on a bunch of these topics, there are countless other creators out there who are really, really good at this type of thing. I would suggest for looping help, definitely go look out Taterhead, because he does no perks looping. So if you want to learn check spots, if you want to learn distance, if you want to learn how to run tiles, when to leave tiles, all of that, definitely look out for some of his stuff. So, yeah.